Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew, but My Dog Did podcast. It's a very rainy, cold, blustery day here in Texas, which is surprising. Even my next guest was saying, wow, I didn't think Texas got that cold. And I didn't either until now, my first fall here in Texas. I'm so happy all of you are here today. You're going to really, really, really love my next guest. When you hear how much she has been through and you still see this big smile and this light that she brings to the world to help others, you're going to join me in celebrating the fact that she's here to help us do the same. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce her with her bio, and then we're going to get into this and find out what she's about. So today's guest is Miss Alison Jacobson. She is known as the Midlife Maverick. She embodies unwavering resilience, having triumphed over profound grief and obstacles. Her journey includes navigating the heart-wrenching loss of her baby to sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, weathering the financial upheaval of divorce, and shouldering the role of caregiver for both her son, who has intellectual disabilities, and her husband, who battles primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Oof, talk about big weights on someone's shoulders. At the remarkable age of 57, having never run more than a mile until the year prior, no way, she conquered the iconic NYC Marathon, serving as a living testament that it's never too late for personal transformation. And I support that, of course, as a master life coach. It's never too late. Today's the day. Alison is a dedicated advocate for women in midlife, helping them overcome self-doubt and fear to achieve their goals and live joyful, successful, kick-ass lives in their second chapter. Through her own tragedies and adversities, she empowers women to find life after loss, regain self-confidence, to bravely move forward personally and professionally, and take decisive action to make themselves the center of their own lives. And here she is. Big applause. Good morning, Alison. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. Just reading that bio, I'm like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Just amazing, amazing, amazing. And we were talking offline about how, the 50s and overs, and this is no disrespect to my younger ones, and I think it's happening much sooner in your 20s and 30s and 40s. You guys are realizing what we hadn't realized, but I think a lot of us now in our nifty 50s are at the point where it's like we've finally realized we can create our own lives and we can just be us and go out there and have fun and remove all that drama and negativity. And you are a prime example of that, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And, it's also a matter of it seems so self evident, but we forget we've got one shot at life. And if we're sitting around saying, I'd like to do this, but I should do this, but you're not living. You're not living.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I call that the yabbit rabbit.
Oh my
That's
gosh. I
that's
love
what
that.
that's what I tell my coaching clients all the time when they do the yabba. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the yabbit rabbit. That's the excuse you make for not taking that step to move forward. So here on I Never Knew, or Inc., what we do is we talk first about your knee story. And that knee story is those moments where we were at rock bottom, or we were at that place where we're just on our knees saying, this is not working. This is the insanity cycle. Something has to give, something has to change. And it could be a compilation of all those experiences. But let's talk about your story. Let's hear what was really kind of your knee story to get you to change all the things you've changed.
It's interesting because you think you have your knee story and then it goes even further.
Yeah.
And so I always thought, as I said, my first son died of sudden infant death syndrome. I was 30 years old. And needless to say, that is a profound, earth shattering time. I talk about this. And so in addition to what I do, I am also CEO of a national nonprofit, First Candle, which addresses sudden unexpected infant death and provides bereavement support services. And the name First Candle because we try to get every baby to their first birthday. And when you talk about grief like that, it's so abnormal, right? You don't expect your world to be rocked by your baby dying before you, and you're so young at that time. What do you know about the world? You're so naive as it is. And so that absolutely profoundly changed me. But I will say, as much as I would give anything to have my son back, it made me so empathetic because when he died, I live in Connecticut. I worked in New York City. And for your listeners who know, most people ride in on Metro North. And I remember after he died, riding in on the train and just looking around at everybody and saying, everybody has a story. You may not see it on their face, but everybody's carrying a weight. And if I can help make that weight lighter for someone, I'd have done something in honor of my son. And so that's what kind of pushed me on the path I am today, being able to help other people. And for other families who are losing babies now, I'm 26 years out to see that there's hope. You do go on because people need to see hope more than anything else. So that was my first knee story. My second knee story was my divorce because I'm an only child. No one in my family got divorced. And here's a little secret, and here's what's kind of crazy. So I went on after Connor died to have 3 more children with my husband. But I stayed way too long in that marriage because I believed Connor, my baby who died, would want us to be together.
Hmm.
And that kind of sounds crazy, but I did until one day I heard Connor say, but mommy, I want you to be happy.
Yes. Yes. Oh, wow.
And that was it. That was the changing moment where I said, I need to be happy for myself. I need to live my life. And that changed it all.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I relate to that so much because I as well ended up divorced and mother of 3 and it's hard and same in my family, no divorce. So,
Yeah.
here you're like you were taught in our generation, we're the same age, where we were taught you just stick it out no matter what. You stick it out, you
Mm-hmm.
stick it out. My parents literally, oh my gosh, of all things, today is their anniversary. How ironic.
Oh,
58 years. 60 years
wow.
together since they were 17 and 58 years married. So, yes, isn't
Wow.
that fantastic? But woof, when I saw stuff, in their marriage, it
Yeah.
was like not for me. It was like
Right.
I can't do that. And yes, now they're in their 70s and this is a great celebration. They made it through and they did that. But I'm with you. Staying with someone, and I stayed in mine way too long when I had domestic violence, is you're not showing your child or your other
Oh,
3 children that this is healthy and this is good.
right.
You're sacrificing your happiness, thinking you're sacrificing it to help them, and actually it's the reverse. They're seeing something that's not healthy,
Yeah.
and they're going to see that later in relationships. Oh, well, they stuck it out no matter what.
Yeah.
So appreciate that.
And so I'm a coach as well, and I work with women in midlife to get past that fear. And so many of my clients are doing that. They're staying in marriages because they haven't worked for so long, so they don't know what they would do getting out of a marriage, but then also B, for the kids. And it's like, no, your kids want you to be happy. That's what it's all about. And so it's so important for women to understand that happiness beyond anything. And that is not selfish. It is self-sufficient. It's self-enabling. It's self-empowerment. And that's what we need. And that's what our kids want for us. Our kids want us to be proud of us and see us living the life that we live.
Oh my goodness, 1,000,000%. I mean, you and I could literally tag team as coaches because that's everything for me as well is that self-esteem, self-image,
Yes.
self-confidence. Like without those things, you can't be your best for your kids anyway.
No.
And we've always been told, put them first, but when you're putting others, and this is not even just your children, but everyone, when you're people
Yes.
pleasing, putting everyone first, all of that resentment that you have inside of you, all of those things that you are that isn't allowed to shine, eventually weighs you down physically,
Yes.
mentally, emotionally. And then everyone around you is going to be very concerned. And it could come to that point where we do get suicidal and
Yes.
depressive disorders. And I love that you and I are on that same page. But you and I both know too, when you're in that moment of, man, I want to get out of this, but I've been in it for so long. I'm
Mhm.
financially dependent. I'm
Mhm.
probably emotionally dependent, especially if it's abusive in any way.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then there's the psychological, where you
Right.
blame yourself and you feel a failure. And the
Yes.
unknown, you see, um, there's a TED talk, I can't remember what his name is, and he says we seek the suffering we know.
Right.
So we stay in things because we know what this is going to
Right.
bring.
It's safe.
Yes, if I get out of it, this, I have no
Right.
idea what's going to happen. And
Right.
it's so hard when you can't see the other side of the mountain, right?
Well, and I'm sure you felt like this too. What I say a lot of times, and this is how I felt, moving into that change is like diving off a diving board with a mask on and just praying that there's water underneath you. But you got to jump. You
Yeah.
got to jump. And I guarantee you feel the same way as I do. I love that. Yeah, but rabbit. The other word is should. We should do this because everybody else does it. And that's what you should do as a mom. And that's what you should do as a wife. And those shoulds, man, they get in our way. I'll never forget when my dad died. My parents were happily married as well. But before he died, he was in a nursing home for about a month or so. And my mom was there every day visiting him. And one day she missed and she was just devastated. She's like, but I should be there. I said, Mom, who's saying that? She's like, but that's what you should do. And I said, there is no should, just like there is no should on how you grieve. You hear that all the time in any situation, grieving a marriage, grieving anything. There is no should. It's your way. There is no wrong way. It's your way.
Yes, yes. We're so busy worrying about what everyone else feels and thinks. If we would just start doing more of the internalizing of positive self talk and just pay attention. I was talking to a guest the other day and I said, we're so in our heads. If we just get out of our head and just stay in our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
follow what your heart says. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like doing it, don't do it. And to heck
Yeah,
with everybody else, no one is that focused on you. No
I
one is
know.
that focused on your life. And that's our misconception, is that
Oh,
everybody's watching me, everybody's judging me. Nobody cares. They're so busy trying not to be
exactly.
judged themselves, right?
Exactly. And I think that's the beauty of midlife. I've gotten to that point. It's like, I don't care. I mean, COVID helped it along, right? Like, I didn't care if I was in yoga pants every day. I don't care anymore. I will go out without makeup on, even without a mask over my face. I don't care. And yeah, I have my daughters are 21 and 18, and I try to tell them it's like, it doesn't matter. You be you. You be that strong, confident you. And as women, we have to do that. We have to be setting that role model of it's not about the makeup, it's not about the hair. It is about your intelligence, your confidence, your humor, your kindness, your love.
Oh, perfect example, Pamela Anderson going to Fashion Week with
Yes.
no makeup on. This is a fashion, beautiful icon actress who, it was all about her body, her appearance,
Mhm.
her makeup, her, to see her free now, I just applauded her. And even
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer, she went on the other day
Yeah.
and had no makeup. I've been going out with no makeup. Half the
Yeah.
time my hair's in a bun and messy hair, don't care. I love the freedom of
Yes.
not caring anymore. And
Yes.
man, if we could get our young girls at 20, the influencers on Insta that think
Mhm.
that it's such, and TikTok that think it's such a big deal to be, the one that breaks my heart, and I'm sorry to divert, but we'll get back. This is just a
Oh,
fun
yeah.
conversation. Is the girl who, and they've taken her down, but she was so anorexic.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that one. She
I don't think
started
so.
very, very beautiful. And as time went by, she just got more and more and more
Mm.
anorexic, and everyone was so concerned. And her block was, I look beautiful, I look fantastic, I don't care what you guys say, but there was something that said,
Mhm.
you do care. And they've
Yeah.
taken her off of TikTok, and I hope and pray she's getting help. But that's what scares me about the social media aspect is,
Mhm.
when does it stop? When do you stop getting skinny enough? When do you stop getting plastic surgery enough?
Right.
Because at our age, we realize aging, especially, that's a podcast in and of itself.
Oh, yes.
Like, okay, I'm gonna get gray hair. One day I'm gonna embrace it. I'm not embracing it quite yet,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can still do something with it. But
Yeah.
the wrinkles, because the beauty of aging is who you are and what you've gained in life. People don't care about this. They care about what wisdom did you have, and that's
Yeah.
like, let's go on with about how you're taking care of your son and your husband. So tell us
Yeah.
about those knee stories.
So I got remarried in 20, gosh, it's 2011. I met him in 2009 on Match. We were a Match success story. And he was everything I was looking for. And he had been a pro golfer. He was an athlete, very, and right before we got married, he developed drop foot, and he had always been misdiagnosed with Lyme disease. And 4 weeks after we were married, he was diagnosed with primary progressive MS. And he went from walking at our wedding to being in a power chair full time in very short order, probably about 4 years. But it's so interesting, Maureen, because I, despite his physical disability, his emotional kindness and the way he loves my kids and they love him, it is absolutely amazing. And here's where I always believe the universe steps in. My oldest son has intellectual disabilities, but he is strong. He's 6'3". I've taught him to mow the lawn and shovel snow and do all of that. And so I truly believe I was the conduit for them coming together, because while Spencer has intellectual disabilities, Steppy, as they call him for stepdad, helps him, and they help each other. And it's just been remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And I'm not going to lie, my life is difficult. I travel a lot and I have to think about, setting that up for when I leave and things. And there are a lot of times where I had to readjust my thought of what my life was going to look like. Like, I just assumed we were going to be doing all these outdoor activities together and having this life. And as a caregiver, it was going to change dramatically, but that didn't mean I had to change as well. And just because I can't do those things with my husband, that doesn't mean I can't find my girlfriends to go hiking with or trips with my daughter. And we've modified things. So we go on cruises every year because cruises are a great handicap accessible thing to do. So you don't stop living. You find your time together, but you also find your time apart. And that's what makes it wonderful.
Oh, I just, oh my goodness, so much, all of that. I love that your son and your husband, where one has less ability and in
Yes.
one area, and one has less ability in the other area, this complete balance
Yes.
out, that, and it also gives them both that connection to one another
Yes.
too. I can help you with this and you can help me with
Yes.
this, and then we both still feel valuable. I
Exactly.
that. I love the cruise idea. And I love, because one of the things I say in my relationship coaching is, if you don't have these three things balanced, your relationship will not work. That's alone time, couple time, and family time. So
Yes.
I 100% support you when you say, I didn't have to stop doing things that I loved. I just had to find other ways
Right.
to do that. And then my husband and I still find ways to travel on the cruise and still have fun as a couple. And my daughter and I take, so
Yes.
you have it, of course you do, you're a coach, but you have it completely perfected, where that's what we have to do when we're unbalanced. You and I know that's
Mm-hmm.
when something feels unfulfilled, and then we start going down that rabbit hole of, where's my purpose, what's going on here, um why do I not feel completely whole? What you said that I think is critical is that you adapted. You
Yes.
adapted and you accepted whatever
Yes.
life looked like. I can make the best of it. You went solution minded rather than problem focused. And
Right. Right.
that is amazing.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the questions you had talked to me about is one of the things, that I never knew. And I'm sure so many of us have heard this who have gone through obstacles and tragedies of, I could never do that. I could never do what you're doing. You would be shocked because I never thought I could survive the death of a child. I never thought I could survive being a caregiver for two people in my life. You never know what you can do until you have to do it. And it's remarkable how resilient women are. Women will rise to the occasion because they just got to get it done.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. We love our men, but let's be real, guys. You have a strong woman in your life, whether it's a mother, a sister, or a significant other.
Yeah.
You know you've got a strong woman there. And I just think it's that we have that emotional perceptiveness to say,
Mhm.
how can I look at this in a different way? Where a lot of our men, we love you so much, stay in sort of the
Yes.
logical brain rather than the emotional heart and say, well, this has to work out this way. Because I'm married to an engineer, we also met online. Success
Right.
story. It was our time is where we met. For it was 50 and overs. Of course, I wasn't 50 yet, but they let me in the club. And same thing. And I think you and I, once you've gone through a divorce, anybody who's gone through relationships that didn't work out, you then know how they should work out or what it
Yes.
looks like to have a healthy one. So never be ashamed of the divorces or the breakups, because you decided for yourself, like, it's not good enough. And
Right.
I'm not a failure. He's not a failure. The relationship is not what we outgrew it, or the
Yes.
relationship is unable to continue to grow in a healthy manner. So
Yeah.
it's better to look at it that way than we totally failed. I don't think anything like that is a
Nothing
failure.
fails. And it's funny because your parents were happily married, my parents were happily married, but I honestly believe everybody needs a starter marriage because you are not who you at 20 years old, you're not who you were at 50 years old. And the likelihood of you two as a couple moving forward in the same direction with the same thought patterns is so remote. So
Yeah.
remote.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I was married at 19 and first baby at 19. And like if you're going to do it young, you should have a starter marriage. Just
Yes,
prepare for marriage number two. If
exactly.
otherwise, you could do it the way that my daughter did, my middle daughter. She didn't get married till 30. She was 30
Yes.
years old and she just had her first child. And I see the maturity and the strength in
Yes.
the parenting and in the marriage, because they had time to figure out who they were. You and
Exactly.
I did not take our 20s to figure out who we were. We jumped right into it's an us instead of
Yeah.
just who the heck am I, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so important. And it's never too late to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
So I have a podcast, Midlife Mavericks, and this week I had on this woman. She was a professor for 40 years at Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland. After 40 years, she left and she created her first product at 68 years old. She is the cutest thing in the world. And it's just like, it just goes to show there is no age. Like, I hate when people say, I'm too old to do this. It's past me. No, it's not. There is no age. I ran the marathon at 57, for the love of God. Like, you can do anything.
You really can. And this is something I talk about, listeners know this, is you can't do it until you realize you have a choice to do it. And
Yes.
that's what stops us. Is that's the biggest blockage ever, is when you don't think you have a choice. I as well quit corporate after 30 years
Yep.
and started my business. I just published my third book today. It was official, or the yesterday it was official.
Congratulations.
You. And I never aspired to be a writer. I
Right?
never thought I'd be a writer. I'm a talker, obviously. I love the Midlife Mavericks. I will be following, and we'll have to talk about me
I want you
visiting.
on if you've got your book.
Oh my God, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that we do have this thought that there used to be this thought, and you and I are changing this for everyone now. I think this is the new energy, that we're not of use after 50. Like there's so
I
much
know.
living is just for, the first half of your life. Actually, I
Mhm.
think you do more living in the second half of your life,
100%.
right?
100%, because your 20s are for you to figure out who you're becoming. Your 30s are that marriage and the kids. The 40s are still the kids. You're finally free to be who you want to be. I think the problem is, and I'm sure you have this too. One of the first things I always ask my coaching clients come to me knowing what they're unhappy about. And the first thing I say is, how do you define happiness? And that blows them away. They cannot define happiness. And I'm like, well, how can you be happy if you don't know what it looks like?
Right.
And so it's so important for women in their 50s to start dreaming again, to start reimagining, to start being playful and thinking about, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? And give yourself permission to do that.
Yes, I love that so much. I say the same thing only about success, because so many young people are so driven for
Mm,
success. And I'll say, well, what does success mean? And they'll say, well, a nice house, a nice car. And
yeah,
I'm like, but that's stuff. That's
right,
not successful. That doesn't define who you are as a
right,
person. If you leave this earth, are people going to talk about your car and your bank
right,
account and your house? No, they're not. You're
right.
successful when you leave the world better than you found it, and you leave a legacy for people. The other thing that I love to ask people, and listeners, I'm going to present this to you, and maybe you guys can journal on this tonight or think about this, is I say, if there was nothing in your way, not a single obstacle, not money, family, people, kids, job, whatever, there's nothing in your way, what is the thing you would be doing?
Okay.
And that clears the whole junk out.
Yes.
And then you go, wait a minute, I found it, my passion. I found what I would be
Yes.
doing. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted
Well,
you.
no, I was going to say that gets back to the shoulds and the buts. It's almost impossible for people to clear their head. Whenever you ask that question, they're like, yeah, but. And I'm like, no, there are no buts. You can do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really it, is just get to the core of what drives you, what stirs your juices, what lights you up, what is the thing that since you were a kid that you were passionate about, whether it's, you know, helping people, or whether it's changing laws, or being law enforcement, or healing, whatever it is, it's in there, and
Mhm.
but as time went by, you put layer on layer on layer on
Mhm.
layer of the yabbit rabbits of, I can't because of this. When the kids get older, when my husband, like you, when my husband's feeling better, yeah, well, he's got a long-term chronic illness,
Yeah.
and your son has a
Yeah.
long-term chronic,
Yep.
struggle, and it's not going to get better. The only thing that's going to get better is when you decide to work around to get to what you
Mhm.
want, and you find there's cracks. There's a crack anywhere in the yabbit rabbit facade that you can have what you want. And man, I'll sit here today and say, I never saw the cracks. My whole life was, something bad happened. Oh, they come in threes. Two more things bad is going to happen. I'm never going to get out of this. This is the hand I was dealt, obviously. Maybe I used to say this. I went to a counselor one time, and he'd say, you talk like you're 80 years old. And I said, well, maybe next lifetime. And he's like, wait, what? You're in your 40s. What? That's how I saw life, was, yeah, maybe
Mm.
next time. This one's a wash.
Mm.
Can you imagine?
But you probably heard that from a lot of people around you. And that's the other thing is, when you said about girlfriends, man, you got to surround yourself with people that support you and understand you. And even so, this is classic. So the reason I ran the marathon is First Candle, as the nonprofit, we are one of the charity partners for the New York City Marathon. So we have bibs. So I've gone to the New York City Marathon for years, and was in Harlem and toasting and drinking beer and saying woohoo. And you get caught up in the energy. And in 2021, I was like, you know what? I'm going to run the New York City Marathon when I'm 60. And all of a sudden I stopped and I'm like, that's baloney. That is an excuse because that's 3 years away. I need to do it now. And it was the 25th anniversary of my son dying. So what a perfect why, right? So I come home and I say to my husband, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon. He's like, oh, I don't know, honey. That's a big deal. I went, game on, sucker. And to this day, we laugh like because of his negativity and doubt, that's why I succeeded.
You know, I find that to be so beautiful because when you've been through stuff and you are such an overcomer and a resilient person, and I know this for myself too, my husband laughs too, because I think as you build the resilience and the overcoming, you also build this, I'll show you.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, 100%.
I can do this and nothing's gonna stop me. It's almost like we stop proving, we stop trying to prove to others we can do something, and we more prove to ourselves we can do something. And that's a cool shift, right?
Oh, it is such a cool shift because it is all about you. Like, I mean, I did it because of my son, but I had never had a real fitness goal. Like, I worked out, but I never had a fitness goal. And I just said, I need a fitness goal at 57. And like we were talking about, I don't work out for my body image. I work out because my bones are getting weaker and my heart and everything else. And I just want to be, able to do anything I want at 80 years old. And if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah, yeah. And as that meme that I saw said, be careful, guys, that check engine light comes on at 50. And it
Yep.
just seems like it's like at that age, all of a sudden, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, I didn't have these back pains. I didn't
Yeah.
have this, and I didn't have that. I mean, I was a gymnast. I was so flexible, and I could do anything. I could do I could probably still do a cartwheel. In fact, you know
But
what?
you could.
There's my resilience right there. I will do a cartwheel
That's
today,
right.
but it's amazing because it catches up with you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is the key. You and I know, being as mental health advocates as we are, if you don't take care of that mental health and that emotional
Mm.
health, you will shorten your lifespan because it will overspill into your
Yeah.
physical, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can just see that in any elderly person. If they are not active and engaged, they just, I had this conversation with friends just yesterday talking about retiring. I'm like, I don't even understand what that word means because retiring, if it doesn't, just because you're not getting paid to do something, you're going to do something. Like, what are you going to do? Just sit on a couch for the rest of your life? Like, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I'm busier, more busy now, retiring from corporate
Yeah.
with all the things I love to do. Like I said, the
Yes.
podcast, I don't get paid to do the podcast, but it's my get to.
Right.
Life coaching. I have
Yeah.
a online boutique. I am busier now with the things I'm passionate about
Yes.
than I was when I was working
Yeah.
so for someone 9 to 5. It's
Right.
crazy. And the joy in doing it, because
Yes.
it's my get to, not my want, my have to anymore.
Exactly. And you found what makes you happy. It's not the house, it's not the car.
Yep. Yep. And it's just for me. It's just for me.
Yes.
And the giving is the gift I get. The being able to help someone
Yes.
see themselves differently, or know they're amazing, and see them 6 months down the road from coaching and they're completely different. And they're like, oh my
Right.
God, I never knew, Maureen. And I'm like, I know. You never
Isn't that a
knew.
joy? I
Oh,
know. That is I had one client, unfortunately, who was in a physically domestic abuse situation and it was bad. And I just worked with her. And now she actually volunteers at the Domestic Violence Crisis Center. And her whole life is turned around. And like to me, that's the win. That's the win.
yes. Oh, 1,000,000%, because we're trying to do it just, the starfish story. We're just, it mattered to that
Yeah.
one. And we're trying to do this one person at a time.
Yeah.
Or now you and I both doing our
Yeah.
podcast, we're trying to reach larger numbers to say, hey
Yes.
guys, you can do it. Every single one of you. We're not out here because we need fame and we need fortune. We're doing this because we're paying it forward, because
Hmm.
I needed to be the voice my younger self needed. We didn't
Yes.
have as
Yes.
many advocates for us back then, right?
Yes, it's so true. It's like, I always say this, if I could just stand on a street corner on a soapbox with like a little sign, like kind of like Lucy, like 1 cent for coaching or something, I would do it. I would
I
do it.
I would be right there. I would just put you on my shoulders. I would like completely like be like, yo, yo, yo. I would do dances. I'd be
Yeah.
a sign flipper. Because it really is when you understand the importance and how you take the life you've been given from just a very monotonous status quo. This is not what we're here for. And I know
No.
people that are just going through the motions. You're going through the motions, but this is an entire life you've been given. And if we're fortunate, we get many lifetimes. But this time that we have, this short little blip on the radar, should never be spent unfulfilled or
I know.
not shining the light that you are, because everyone has this beautiful soul light and you're meant to come here. You asked to come and learn and
Yes.
grow and to help others, because this is not a solitary life. This is
No,
to help each of us. And
I know.
like I said, how would I ever have crossed paths with
Right.
beautiful Allison, but yet I feel this
I
connection.
know.
There's
Isn't it
there's
amazing?
it's magical. It's
It really
absolutely
is.
magical. You'll draw in
Oh, yes.
once you change to that different mindset. You stop blocking everyone out and you start drawing in people who are just like you, right?
Well, and that's what's there's that old fable about the guy who was standing on the roof of his house because the river was rising and he was like, "Dear God, please come rescue me." And like there a boat comes by and he's like, "No, I'm waiting for God to rescue me." It's like, "No, it's coming right at you. Allow in the people that are supposed to be in your life. Don't block them."
I use that story all the time. And he's like, the boat they come
Yeah,
and they are knocking on the door.
yeah,
Well, first they're knocking on the door and they're like, hey, the flood's coming. You need to get out. No, no, no. I'll be fine. God will save me. The boat comes as the water
yeah,
rises. Oh, come on, come on. He's rising. No, no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
yeah,
Pretty soon it's all the way to the roof of his house and the helicopter comes and is like, come on, come on. No, no, I'll be fine. God will save me. And then he drowns.
yeah,
You're offered all of these people, all of these resources, all the signs from your spirit team,
mm-hmm.
to show you where to go. You have
Yes.
guidance if you open up to it and say, just show me. You'll see it. The clarity I have now compared to the fog I was
Oh,
in back then is unbelievable, because I'm open to it now. Now I can look for the solutions.
and I think the other thing, I actually did a solo podcast last week about one of the most important things is vulnerability. I think women, especially, are so afraid to ask for help because it looks like a sign of weakness. And the only way to succeed is to have those people support you and supplement those areas of your life you needed. And if you're not willing to ask for help and be vulnerable to that, you're never going to get there. And it's okay to show that kind of vulnerability. But we've
Yeah.
been taught for so long, no, no, no. That's weakness.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you were speaking. I'm like, yeah, it sounds great to be vulnerable, but a lot of us have been taught so much shame. And I
Mhm.
know our generation, our older generations, have been very protective of how our households
Mhm.
appear. I was always told, don't you tell anyone
Mhm.
anything that's going on in our house.
Yeah.
We don't share our dirty laundry.
Yes.
So that's a programming, and especially our older women,
Mm.
being Gen X myself, it's like
Yeah.
we were just like, you don't do that. So that shame factor kept us from being able to be vulnerable. So what did we do? We went out and we fixed other people,
Yeah.
because we didn't want to tell what needed to be fixed in us, or even realize we had stuff we needed to heal in us.
Yes. Well, it's very funny because I started coaching after I went through my divorce, and again, it was horrific. I had to declare bankruptcy. It was horrible. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is it. This is who I am. There's nothing to hide anymore. And I live in a very small town, and you know what that's like. But we started this women's network, and I just shared everything. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, oh, you got a divorce and this happened and you're okay. Can you help me? And so all of a sudden I was this divorce whisperer in town. And if anybody saw me having coffee with a woman, they're like, she must be getting a divorce.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. They're like, oh God, the most hated woman in town by every man is walking down that street.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. And I
Yeah.
could definitely see that. And our town is definitely not that small. We're 65,000, so yours
Yeah.
is way smaller.
Yeah.
But I love that. And that's why we do what we do. Is there's hope, you guys. And
Mhm.
it's so easy to speak of when you're on the other side of it, but when you're on that just, oh, it's paralyzing. It's so
Mhm.
paralyzing. And to be able to reach out to people when you're in that, that's, for me, that's why I just one person, just if you
Mhm.
need something, um, you want to talk about, things you're going through. Let me connect you with Allison. Let me connect you with this person. You're having
Mhm.
addictions. Let me connect you. It's this web that I think it's a web of beauty. It's a web of love and a web of compassion that we have to be there for each other. We have to, if nothing else in the world, guys, no one says you have to fix other people's problems, but we need to be a safe space. That's it.
Mhm.
That if that is if I was carrying a banner, walking down the road, it would say be a safe space for someone.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Because I didn't have a safe space. You didn't
Yeah.
have a safe space.
Yeah.
I couldn't share stuff. I was
Nope.
completely embarrassed and shameful. It
Mhm.
was it's a weight that just weighs you down. And when
Yeah.
you finally decide to chip away at that boulder that's on your back, and then you see that hope and that path forward, and
Yes.
that's why I love coaching. I
Me
think
too.
life coaching, and I always say no disrespect to therapists and counselors because I think they're fantastic too. I i believe coaching allows much more fluidity,
Mhm.
and we're able to share things. That's why insurance doesn't
Exactly.
cover it, is
Yeah.
because we're allowed to share personal stories. We're allowed to try unconventional approaches. We're allowed to individualize it rather than following these psychological protocols that therapists have to, for their licensing and counseling, have to stick to. And so I think the world is about being able to think outside the box now. And
Right.
I think that's the beauty.
Well, and I think that there's been come so much more of awareness of coaching and how important it is. And I always say it's half coaching, half cheerleading, right? Because you need that person in your corner who's going to say, yes, you can do this. Let's take step by step together. And I'm going to go there with you every step of the way, but I am your cheerleader. If you have no one else in your corner, I'm in your corner.
Oh my goodness. I coach cheerleading because yes, my clients all know. Hi, shout out to all of my clients. They know I'm gushing. I'm
Yeah.
gushing about their accomplishments and how proud I am of them. Just they're not proud. They'll come every week and go, I did it again. And I'll go, you know what though? I'm proud of you for recognizing you did it
Yeah.
again. And they're
Yeah.
like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, Maureen, are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. I'm telling you, it's your self-awareness, your ability to recognize the things that you're doing. That's a
Yeah.
step in itself.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Exactly. It's
And
every little step.
right. And I also think what's beautiful about coaching, which is why I say there's no competition, there's only
Yeah.
collaboration. We're all different. It's coaching is so
Mhm.
varied, and the niches. I mean,
Yeah.
therapy, like I said, therapy, there's going to be a lot of the similar path to what you want to accomplish, asking the kind of the same methods, and I'm sure some therapists have created unique ways to do that, but it's going to be fairly similar in therapy and counseling, because they are monitored and they have to take notes, and insurance all that regulating. But I think what's cool with the life coaching is that it is effective, but you can shop around. You can
Right.
shop around till you find that one that connects with you. When clients call, I say, I got to make sure you're as good a fit for me as I am for
Exactly.
you. We have to have
Exactly.
trust and rapport and honesty and confidentiality. And you have to know I'm for you. You have to know that.
Exactly. Well, and I do a lot of coaching with midlife women who are going into entrepreneurship, and they'll say, I want to do all of this. I'm like, no, but who's your audience? And they want to be so broad. And it's like, no, if you talk to everyone, you're not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
And so that's why, yeah, same with me. I am very specific at who I work with. And again, no disrespect to men, but I don't coach men. That's not my thing. And it's
Yeah.
okay. There's great coaches out there for men.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do coach men because my niche is getting people that have, and especially my men. The interesting thing is, I love my men because it takes them so long to get to coaching.
Mm,
And then when they do get to coaching, they're so driven and motivated and serious about it. I find it's amazing. They are much more short term than my women. My women like the maintenance, and
yes.
I love that too. I love that because your life is shifting consistently.
Yes.
And so you can't just say, "Oh, I went to coaching for a month and it was great." Well, yeah, your life is completely different than when it was a month ago.
Right.
So I always appreciate my clients who are so committed to maintaining
Mhm.
and showing up for themselves. But the men, they definitely takes them a while, and they have to be at the brink of like, I don't know what else
Mhm.
to do when they come, but boy, do they make the changes. And they're also able to maintain the changes pretty well.
Right.
I had a fantastic client. In fact, he's been a podcast guest. He had been going through divorce, and he had lost his job in law enforcement, and he was just having a really, really difficult time and had a lot of anxiety and even a panic attack. And we got him through all of that. I said, "What are you passionate about?" He was working at retail that he wasn't in. And I said, "What are you passionate about? You were in law enforcement. What do you know? What do you love? What are you
Right.
passionate about?"
Right.
I said, "Let's start a PI business." He's
Yeah.
got a thriving PI business in Gilbert, Arizona now. And I'm so
Well,
proud of him.
yeah, and that's really what it is. Who do you imagine yourself to be? What is it? What's your great and powerful why? Because that's what I say to my entrepreneurial clients. You better have a great and powerful why. And you're right. It's not that house or that car, because the minute you have one little lapse or the minute you have a hard day, you're going to walk away from it. And that why has to be the love of something. And it's not the money.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out, or else you're gonna walk away at the first minute. So what's
Yeah.
that great and powerful why?
Well, I always say, what would you do for free? If you
Yes.
weren't paid, what would you do? Well,
Mm-hmm.
Lord knows I do all of this for free because I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely
Yeah,
freaking love it.
exactly.
Like you said, Lucy, with the 1 cent sign,
Yep.
you do it because you love it. And that's when you really know it's your why, it's your passion,
Yes.
it's your purpose, because it's not based on the reward you get for it. The reward,
Exactly.
monetary, materialistic, that doesn't matter. The
Yep.
reward you get for it is, I feel so good about the difference I'm making in this world and to
Exactly.
others that live in this world with me. Then we know you found it. You
Yep.
nailed it. Your ikigai, you nailed it.
Exactly. And I
Right?
have got both my girls in college right now, and I tell them that all the time. Figure out what you're going to love to do. Don't just chase the money. Figure out what you're going to just love to do every day.
Yeah, especially our younger generation, because
Yes,
it's so focused on
I know.
hustle, hustle,
I
hustle,
know.
drive, money, money, stuff. Yeah, if we can just tell them, if there's anything us as nifty fifties could say, it's, this is what I always say, is, what will people say at your funeral? Are they
Yep.
going to say she had a nice car? No, they're not. They're going to
Nope.
say, this is how I felt when I was with her. What are
Yep.
they going to say they're about your house? They're not, because they're going to sell
Yep.
it off as soon as
Yeah.
you pass away. It's not that. So you have to remember long term, when you're 60, what you're picking now,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be the thing that drove you, that motivated you, that gets you up in the morning and gets you excited. And the minute you're not
Mm-hmm.
excited, because that can change, that
Yep.
can change.
Oh,
And
and it probably does change, like our
right.
husbands.
Correct. Jobs and husbands come and go.
Yeah,
Relationships come
exactly.
and go. The one thing you have is your love for yourself and the
Mm-hmm.
thing that you're here to do. And that's a great place to wrap up. Tell
Yes.
us where to find you. Tell us about your book. Tell us everything, how to reach out to you.
So not only did I run the New York City Marathon last year, but I published my first book, Daily Inspirations for Midlife Women, A Guide to Peace, Joy, Confidence, and Abundance.
Woo
And I
woo.
just
There's a title. It says
exactly.
everything, right?
Exactly. And so it's quotes from me, a daily quote from me. You can turn to anywhere in the book and just find something to wake up to and feel like that support, like that cheerleading that we all need. I also have a place just for your listeners. It's Alison-Jacobson.com/INK. And on there, I've got a freebie, 5 steps to release fear and live boldly. It's a downloadable. And then I also have a small, short mini course, 7 days to unshakable self-confidence. It's 7 days of audio from me that you get just talking about how to build that self-confidence, some resources, some downloads, just to make every woman in midlife recognize they can do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, you guys, the 5 steps to relieving fear. Oh
Yes.
my God. And to unshakable self-confidence. I mean, how
Yep.
generous of you. Thank you for that. Thank
Oh,
you. That is building this community. That is really gifting of yourself. And really, those are some valuable things that the listeners are going to take away. How fantastic. Now, where is your wife's, your website is Alison.
Alison-Jacobson.com.
Perfect.
And you can get to my podcast there. You can order my book from there. You can get to my free courses, my paid courses, you name it, you can find it there.
I love it. You guys go subscribe to Midlife Maverick on, I'm certain, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all the places.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer Apple. I've been having some audio issues with Spotify and iHeart. So
Oh,
I
geez.
do, yeah, I really do like Apple. So oh my God, all of it is so good. So since we always talk about something so heavy here on I Never Knew, I like to end it on a high note. And I have a little segment called It Tastes Funny. And that is, what do you think you like that something people would say, oh my goodness, that is a crazy thing that that she eats that I would never eat, or something that a lot of people like that you have no desire to eat. So tell me a weird food thing.
Well, so I think it's a regional thing, but it started my dad, peanut butter and bacon sandwiches. Oh my God. It is the best combination in the world. It has to be on toast, so it's warm. And so the peanut butter is really runny and it goes into the bacon. Oh my God. It's the best sandwich in the world.
That one, you have won the prize. I would absolutely love that. I love peanut butter and I love bacon.
Oh,
Oh,
so
I've
good.
never heard of that.
Yeah,
How fantastic.
it's really good.
That was magical. See, I mean, you guys surprise me every time with this segment, and
You should
I
start a
can't believe it.
recipe book.
I should.
Yes. I never knew.
Should be. Oh, now see, I'm gonna have to copyright that. Okay, that should be my next book for
You're
real.
welcome.
Thank you, and it'll be called "It Tastes Funny." I never knew.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I freaking love it. So as we wrap up, I just adore you, Allison. Thank you for all your wisdom, for your beautiful light, your positivity, just everything that you are and what you're doing in this world. And I'm so happy you're my sister in
Mm,
life coaching and helping other women be like us, be happy, be thrilled, be content, be loving to who you are, and
yes.
nothing else matters. No one else's opinion matters, but only you matter and what you're
Mm.
bringing to the world. So I thank you so much.
Oh,
And we're going to stay connected. So,
absolutely, because I want you on my show.
oh my God, for sure. Midlife Mavericks.
Absolutely.
What a fantastic name. Hang in with me. Okay, listeners, that's going to wrap us up for this week. I am, whew, did you see how pumped and energetic? I'm more than normally high energy because I'm feeding off of my friend Allison. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. Don't forget to, you have to go to that link when I have it in the show notes. You'll be able to go right there and get those 5 steps and that little mini course that she's offering. Plus, please get her book, because as authors, we work so hard to really bring this information, and we love a review. And even if you just buy the ebook, or you get, we have 99-cent deals all the time, but leave those reviews, because it really matters. It helps us, encourages us to write some more. So well, I love you all for being here. Thank you for growing the community. Make sure that you reach out for anything you have to say to Allison or myself. And positivity, please, is encouraged. And if you want to be a guest, please reach out as well and leave those reviews. We're all 5 stars on Apple, which is thrilling. And let's see, what else have we got? Of course, my life coaching is lifecoachmaureen.com. All my stuff is there as well, the podcast, the books. And then let's see. Wrapping up our housekeeping. Also, don't forget to go to our boutique, mydogiseverything.net, where it's all healthy treats, paw bombs, and shampoos, as well as tons of apparel and fun gifts for your puppies with the holidays coming up. Don't forget to buy your puppies some presents. So, love you all. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Please, most of all, take care of those furry babies and make sure that you adopt and do not shop. Until next week, I love you all. Bye.